Hi, everybody. It is the 17th of October, 2024. And yeah, maybe the second day we've had a little bit of rain since I've been here, which has been months. And it got cold. So, not terribly. How are you? How are you? Oh, there's a lot of weirdness going on. A lot of weirdness, a lot of chaos. And yeah, it's going to get a whole lot worse. So I hope you're all prepared for it because it's coming soon. Oh, the election, right? If Kamala wins, oh boy. If Trump wins, oh boy. There's no win. There's no win for any of us outside the matrix, that's for sure. So let me just say hello to everybody. Alicia DeMoss, Geofactor 3, James B., and Tom Tomata. You just found that out. Wow. That Jamie Lee died. Okay. Yeah. Angelos, hello. Barbarous Heartbreaker and Tony Punch and Kim Blanchard and Barb in Ohio and Oracle 11, Sandra and Julie and Louisiana Skywatch, Step Down, Rick Yorkin, Miss Blanche. Hi, everybody. Christopher James. The 90s Brooklyn Night. Hi, Jay Northrup. Space Indian Silent Walk. Hypocrites Matrix. Tony. Stauffer. Mark Anthony. You didn't call me a brat, Mark. Hey. I always look forward to that. Super Dave 44. And for anybody presuming that Mark Anthony calls me a brat in a not so nice way, that's not the case. It's endearing, and it's been for a long time, and I like it. Patricia White, Mama Rages. Oh, ML, Joni, all of you guys, hi. So, yeah, let me just, here, Colorado, Pueblo, and lo and behold, after seeing this, and then I went on my home page on YouTube, I see Mike Decker. Good. He posting on it. So let me just show you what's going on here. Now, got the Doppler radar, East Coast. It seems, for those who say that I'm an idiot, that I'm off my meds, Doppler radar is only tracking planes. It seems that planes only fly on the east or the eastern half of the country. That seems a little odd to me, but I did it again. Man, oh man. Well, at least I'm remembering. So yeah, Doppler radar going. And look at this. What is happening in Colorado? What is going on? Mike Decker called the Pueblo National Weather Service station in Pueblo and asked about it. And they said that no, a technician was going to be shutting it off or something like that. Yeah, okay. Well, they haven't shut it off. And the frequencies are different, coming from the same source, but different frequencies. and directional, you got to wonder, what is going on? Look at all of the extremely low frequencies. Do you have rain in Nevada in this area? We don't even know. But look at this. You see the cutouts of the precipitation, extremely low frequencies, and of course, extremely low frequencies in California. But it's been, since the hurricanes, rather quiet on the weather front. You gotta wonder, but let us listen to Mike.
Good evening, y'all. It is Shocktober.
Here is his most recent in the last hour. And yeah, Mike is speaking about these very dangerous emissions of electromagnetic frequencies, extremely low frequencies.
October 17th, 2024. Been getting chemical rain all afternoon. Holy, I didn't see that one just a minute ago. Anyhow, Pueblo, Colorado. Look what's coming out of Pueblo, Colorado. Montana, apparently. Boom. Anyhow, same outfit. Now, according to them down in Pueblo, they can shut that off. Looks like it's having serious issues. They might not get them technicians they were talking about on that. A lot of issues today. Chemical rain here. Fake ass chemical snow on the mountain and looking like. Anyhow, the reason I'm making this is because I've never had trouble. I download this here, douche. Well, I go and try and let's just show you a quick demonstration. Find it very interesting. Not being a conspiracy theorist or nothing. I've never gotten this before on YouTube. Trying to load one of these. Select magical files. This is the one I just downloaded, which shows more than just what you're seeing there. Oh, all of a sudden it's invalid. All right, well, screw you. Let's try it over here on X. Okay. Oh, it's magical. It won't post. Huh. Anyhow, I think more people need to hear what the National Weather Service manager boy down here was saying about this.
And that is why I also pulled up this video 2 weeks ago. I can't believe it's 2 weeks already. Next rad station in Pueblo, Colorado gets a phone call, and you will want to listen to this. So I am going to post again the link to Mike Decker's call to the National Weather Service. It's right here in the chat. And yeah, circulate it. But look at Montana. I haven't seen very many extremely low frequencies being emitted in the recent, probably the last month from Montana, because Montana started raging with these for about a year and a half. So look at the length. Extremely low frequencies have a range of 300 miles. And they're directional. They can be 360, they can be 180, they can be 90. like in Colorado. There's a reason for this. Weather modification, mind control, or to make the population feel like crap. Mentally, physically, emotionally, psychically, spiritually. And I also, hey, Max, thank you for your email. Sorry, I've been, I have to post a video just explaining where I'm at, but okay, so Maximus lives in the Appalachian Mountains, Western North Carolina. His house got damaged by the flood, and he writes, the county inspectors in Burke County better back the F off. We who are reclaiming our land and dwellings, or they're going to get hurt. Okay. Fill in the detail if you can, Max, and I hope you're doing okay. How can anybody affected by these weather events be feeling okay? It is so, it's just heartbreaking to see what is taking place. But I do want to show you, all right, the forecast model. The last time we came over here to the forecast model, you saw Nadine. Oh, and it was operating as a hurricane in the Gulf. It's gone. Where'd it go? So this starts October 18 at midnight. And I just want to show you that, well, Nadine has disappeared. But you do have some severe weather coming. Got a lot of rain for Washington, Oregon, and Northern California. This is now on October 25 at noon. Snow as well. That's also Idaho for 6 p.m., October 25. Snow for northern Idaho and a wee bit into northwest Montana on the 26th midnight. I just want to show you this very bizarre looking weather front. Okay, you do have severe weather in Wisconsin going into Michigan on the 28th at noon. Got snow up there in Canada. Got some heavy rain in, can't even see Pennsylvania, New York. This is up in Canada. But look at how big this line of precipitation becomes. We're on October 29. No Nadine. Hurricane gone. Okay. Or tropical storm. But 6 a.m., October 29, this line of precipitation that goes from actually into Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, and Illinois, getting bigger. You've got some very heavy precipitation coming your way October 29 at noon in Missouri and into Illinois, right there. Heavier rain in Missouri for October 29 at 6 p.m. And boom, it stretches out. October 30, midnight, you have severe weather in Missouri, in Illinois, in Indiana, central Illinois, and, well, central down to the southwest of Missouri. And boom. Okay, October 30, 6 a.m., our severe weather comes back. And look at it stretches from Missouri, Arkansas, into Illinois, into Indiana, and the northwest corner of Ohio. Severe weather, October 30, 6 a.m. And heavy precipitation. Look at the size of this, okay? We have never seen our weather fronts so large. From the border of Mexico and Texas on up to Canada. Oh, these weather fronts, 1,000+ miles. You go, girl. But we don't seem to be getting much severe weather until the 29th and the 30th. Wow. We've had a break, huh? We've had a break. Okay. The weather terrorists will be coming back. Don't worry. Now, I look at the titles of the YouTube meteorologists, Ryan Hall, Max Velocity, others, and it's always some kind of, well, there's a big change coming. Big weather pattern change is coming. Another one. Okay. Well, Max, look into why we're having so many big changes. Maybe you might say something about weather modification and geoengineering. Maybe. I'm just going to play a few minutes. I will post the link. You can listen. No, Louisiana Skywatch, I actually see the big changes when I go to the forecast model. There are big changes, but no mention of man controlling weather.
Another big weather pattern change will be coming to the United States over the next several days, and this is going to flip the temperatures yet again, where we're going to go from pretty cold temperatures for this time of the year all the way back to warm and above average temperatures for most of the United States. In addition to that, we are going to see a return of severe weather this weekend, with maybe a couple of tornadoes being possible, and we also have an update on the tropics with 2 different areas of development across the Atlantic Basin. So let's begin with what's happening across the United States this morning. And overall, it's pretty quiet for most of the country. We do have some activity ongoing back over in the Rocky Mountains, and we're actually going to see some heavy snowfall in the higher elevations as we go into tonight and eventually throughout the rest of this week into the weekend. So that'll be something to watch for up in the United States, and we'll talk more about that here in a moment. But what I also want to point out is that we do have 2 different areas of development in the Atlantic Ocean, both of which are now down to low chances of development over the next 7 days, and neither of them look like they're going to be impacting the United States anytime soon. The only one that would have any chance of doing so is the one east of the Lesser Antilles, but it has struggled to get its act together. But we'll update you with the latest on that here in just a moment, and why there still is a chance that this could become a tropical storm over the next few days. I'm going to take a wild guess and say the majority of you watching this forecast right now have a jacket on because you are cold, and the reason why is because we are dealing with well below normal temperatures for a large chunk of the eastern tier of the United States. What's crazy is that many areas are below freezing, even as far south as northern Georgia this morning. So again, not common at all for this time of the year. We usually see this in months like January and February, at least for below freezing temperatures as far south as Georgia. That's not common for this time of the year.
And think about the people in eastern Tennessee and western North Carolina without homes, living in tents. At least some of them are. Right? Okay. So, yeah, I'm going to put the link in. You can listen to this forecast, but I'm telling you, the forecast changes all the time. Okay. So, I'm just going to go through some of the flooding that I've been able to capture. Italy again, hit again, different areas, but these countries, European countries, Asian countries, it doesn't matter. They're getting hit over and over and over again. African countries, and it all pretty much looks the same.
Floods hit Liguria, Italy. Bad weather has hit Liguria with landslides and floods, causing trains and planes to be diverted, temporary road closures and evacuations. Critical, but under it will also
It never stops. And the earthquake in Turkey is far more damaging than I first saw.
This region is highly vulnerable due to the tectonic activity beneath it. In the United States, earthquakes are most common in states like California. This region is
No, this is China. But because I only have a limited amount of time tonight, this is Turkey. I'm just going to put the link in. But whether it's flash flooding, earthquakes, tornadoes in areas that, well, we really didn't see before, but now we do. It's people are losing their homes all over every single day. A whole lot of people that are losing everything. Whoa.
Engineers focus on making buildings flexible enough to absorb seismic energy.
Aqui na última curva da descida da serra, onde o caminhão está.
Earthquakes also have psychological impacts on the affected populations.
No kidding. All right. Oman. Yeah. The desert countries have really turned into just the tropics. Let's call them now. They're the tropics. Oh my God.
On October 15, Oman experienced severe flooding due to a tropical depression. Heavy rains caused flooding, especially in the northern regions of the country. Video footage shows flooded streets with vehicles wading through floodwaters high enough to submerge half a car.
Yeah, Oman. Morocco, Sahara Desert.
Flood Turkey, a lake bed between Zagora and Tata that has been dry for 50 years is filling up.
See, I think that this should be questioned. I think that this raises a lot of questions. I think it begs questions. Morocco, Oman, Saudi Arabia, they all look pretty much the same now. You're going to tell me that this is climate change? We wouldn't have these drastic effects of climate change. They would come incrementally. But now we have radical change in our weather, like hurricanes in the Appalachian Mountains. Okay? Climate change. We have less people in the world, not more, which means less people driving. You know, they've killed off an awful lot of cows that burp and fart. Okay, these kinds of things really need to be questioned. And while you're questioning, do a little bit of research on weather modification and geoengineering, because that's what we are facing. And people are getting destroyed by people using weather as a weapon. King tides rolling in and bring possible flooding to South Florida. Okay, the flooding of homes continues on as I speak. The river is rising.
So happening today, king tides, they are rolling in, bringing possible flooding to South Florida. The supermoon expected to make it worse than usual. CBS News in Miami's Morgan Reiner, she has more from Fort Lauderdale.
This is one of those areas that we typically find ourselves whenever we are reporting on king tides. People in this area know that it is no joke, and cities across South Florida are preparing. Now, some of the biggest impacts that we will see from king tides are along the coast and other bodies of waters like the intercoastal. The city of Fort Lauderdale says they actively clean out tidal valves and storm drains. In South Florida, tide forecasts show that we could experience record-breaking high tides from the 16th to the 23rd. The city of Miami Beach will open its parking garages for qualified residents. Miami has already started to place digital roadway signs to warn drivers about flooded roads. The cities and county also deployed temporary stormwater pumps in low-lying spots to help keep flooding at bay. Now, some tips for king tides. Don't park your car in low-lying areas. Don't enter floodwater or let children play in it. If you end up driving through floodwaters, wash your cars because salt water can be corrosive. And boaters should beware because high tides cause lower clearance under bridges.
Thanks for the tips. The moon. What the hell is going on with the moon? After these lives, I go outside, and now it's dark. The moon, one night, will be, well, here. And then the next night, it's over here. But a few nights before it was here, it was over there. Anybody else noticing that the moon seems to have a mind of its own? Oh, wait. Okay. Have they so screwed up the magnetic field? Have they so screwed up the natural processes of life that it's like, okay, it is pretty shocking to see these very different positions of the moon night after night. Florida. Yeah, there's an awful lot going on. The release of waters from reservoirs. Duke Energy actually released waters from lakes. They're being sued for that release. Here in Florida, another release without warning. Hurricane Harvey, they literally flooded out tens, plural, tens of thousands of homes. It was the Army Corps of Engineers releasing waters from reservoirs. I had a subscriber in Houston. She had an apartment or a condo. Harvey did not flood her house. It was the Army Corps of Engineers. So they're doing an awful lot to make sure that people are really destroyed. A whole lot of people are really destroyed.
Lake Vinodasasa is also seeing historic flooding. Residents along the lake turned to aid on your side after they flooded, and they say it wasn't because of the storm. Investigator Brittany Muller joins us live near Lake Vinodasasa. Brittany, what's going on there?
Jen, good evening to you. Residents and business owners out here claim that these floodwaters were released without warning. Check out this business right here along the lake. It's been underwater for days now, and you could see the water line. It's gone down by maybe 2.5 days after Milton. The lake quickly began to rise.
All of a sudden, this water just ran up on us. And so Vinodasasa has never flooded like this before.
The Southwest Florida Water Management District says the lake was drawn down almost 14 inches.
No. They dropped the water level 3 inches, okay, across the lake. It's up 10 feet, and it's run over the hills into people's yards.
Farm owner Don Balaban says water rushed 400 feet into his land, claiming water was released.
They could have got that lake level down. What they're telling you is they can't because they never maintained it, and they can't get the water out.
Swiftmud says
Where did the money go? The taxes that we paid for decades? Where did it go? Oh, the upkeep of lakes, the maintaining the infrastructure. Where did the money go? That's another question that Americans really should be asking, and then ask, why am I paying taxes? Still, I just wish that we could get all Americans to stop paying taxes. Though, at this point, they don't need the money. They got us. So, St. Petersburg, all of the debris from both hurricanes, Helene and Milton. Listen to this. Does this sound like you have good, responsible government planners that are planning, keeping your best interest in mind?
It was piled up in a heap and then set on fire. Tonight, what it's like to live beside a hurricane debris dump site. Good evening, I'm Keith Kate.
I'm Jennifer Lee. Thank you for joining us. The debris collected by the city of St. Pete Beach is unloaded in Egan Park. News Channel 8's Marilyn Parker is live there tonight. Marilyn, people live just steps away from that site.
That's right. They understand that, cleanup is important, but I mean, look at what they're waking up to and going to bed with every night. Think of all the mold smell that everyone's been trying to get out of their neighborhoods. Well, it's right here in front of their doors. Last night, it was on fire. A blaze on top of this mountain of debris Tuesday night.
If we didn't look out the window, we would have never even seen it. Everybody was sleeping.
It was too close for these residents.
It's scary. We saw the embers coming up, blowing over toward our building.
Yes, the hurricane debris has to go somewhere, but they're asking, does it have to be right on their doorstep?
They started another pile that's even closer to the homes.
They say the debris is just going to keep piling up. They fear adding pollutants to the air and putting their homes and bodies at risk.
This is an older population that lives here, and respiratory disease, cardiac disease is going to be an issue. There's no.
They did. The dump site is very close to all of these homes. Does that make any sense? Of course it doesn't. All right. 3 weeks after moving into their forever home in Orange Park in Jacksonville, I guess, or Florida, they were forced out. Now, I'm just showing you two examples because another example is coming after this. Everything is going wrong now. Everything is going wrong. It's costing Americans a tremendous amount of money, inconvenience, if they're lucky, or without housing, if they're not so lucky.
The News4JAX I-team is investigating after a routine air duct cleaning drove an Orange Park couple from their home. It's been 10 months since they've been able to live inside their home.
The couple says that the company they hired improperly cleaned their fiberglass air ducts and contaminated their home and all of their belongings. Consumer investigator Tiffany Salome joining us now live. And Tiffany, you discovered that the company doing the work was sold just a few weeks after what was a life-changing incident.
Yes, and that's why it's been so hard for them to get this problem solved. The damages are close to $70,000. The couple reached out to the News4JAX I-team as a last resort for help.
Depending on the kind of material.
This security footage captures the moment Tyler Collins' life would take a turn.
Was this supposed to be your forever home?
That's the idea.
He had just moved into his home in Orange Park 3 weeks prior. It was the only 3 weeks he would spend there before his home was infected with fiberglass.
Ultimately, I'd like to be able to live in the home we purchased.
As a first-time home buyer, he wanted to refresh the space built in the 80s. He started with installing new carpet, buying new furniture, and was looking into replacing the air ducts, which were lined with fiberglass duct boards. Rather than replacing the air ducts completely, the company he hired, Charlie's Tropic Heating and Air Conditioning, assured him they could safely clean them.
So tech came out and he looked over everything. He's like, oh, I mean, don't worry about spending that kind of money right now. Like, we can safely clean it. Like, it'd be $600 to like clean the ducts. We won't use any kind of like rotor brush, anything like that. We'll just use a vacuum and air pressure, and we'll get you set up.
The invoice details that the company would clean the entire duct system using a negative air vacuum. But when a tech came out to perform the service, that's not what Tyler says happened.
Unfortunately, the day whenever they sent the tech out, he couldn't speak any English at all, couldn't communicate with him. So he just kind of started doing his thing. About halfway through, I went to check on him, see what was going on. I noticed like, oh, he's using a rotor brush, just like what they said they wouldn't do.
If you take these panels off, you can see some of it on the other side.
I guess around like midnight or so, the air must have kicked on while we were asleep, because I woke up at like 2 in the morning, just lungs on fire, couldn't breathe at all.
Tyler and his girlfriend had to go to the ER the next morning. He later followed up with a pulmonologist who told him his lungs were only at 50% capacity because of the poor air quality inside his home.
It had just infected most of the house, like our pillows. If we use those, even after washing them, they would make our throats itchy. clothes that were in the house, no matter how many times we washed them, were just unbearable to wear. Our couch, it had covered it.
Demand letters sent by Tyler's attorneys have gone unanswered. Between his medical bills, air quality testing, and the estimates to repair his home, the damages total almost $70,000. The company only refunded Tyler the $600 he paid for the cleaning.
This is one of the bedrooms we had all made up and everything. The mattress on here we just threw away as well because it had been infected.
State records show that Charlie's Tropic Heating and Air Conditioning is no longer in business. Because of that, Tyler and his lawyers have hit a dead end. He will likely have to cover the cost of repairs himself.
I just hope they do the right thing at some point because.
Let me just say, you forget about it, okay? No longer in business. $70,000. And, well, too bad for you. This is happening across the country. The numbers of people and in similar situations or different situations, but having to incur tremendous loss, the numbers are adding up. Nobody seems to be able to do anything quite right anymore. Here.
Now to a News for Jack's I-Team investigation. Some residents at an apartment complex on Beach Boulevard are being forced to either move out or terminate their leases because of issues with the flooring. Presidium Regal is at the site of the old Regal Cinemas. The grand opening was just last year. Weeks after moving in, some people started reporting problems with their floors not supporting the weight of their furniture. News for Jack's consumer investigator Tiffany Salome spoke with residents who say the faulty construction issues are disrupting their lives.
We're on the 4th floor right now in one of the units that is impacted by these faulty construction issues. And where I'm standing right now is actually where the couch used to be. You can see the resident moved it out of the way to show us what's happening here and what these problems are. You can see where the couch legs were sitting. The floor is actually sinking.
I would have never moved in if I knew this was the case.
Reggie Wilson has been living at Presidium Regal Apartments since last December. He won't be signing another lease.
I honestly enjoy staying here. The issue is that when I moved here, I moved in under the impression I was moving into a completed building. There was going to be no construction.
There's nothing wrong with his apartment on the 1st floor, but it's a different story for his neighbors on the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th floors, who came home to find this notice posted on their front doors 2 weeks ago. Everyone besides those on the 1st floor would have to move out. The exact reason why is unclear, but photos from his upstairs neighbors show issues with the flooring that's uneven and sunken in some spots.
They did not tell anyone on the 1st floor anything that's going on. You were not getting any kind of formal notification. The only way you would have found out is you looked up one day and everyone in your building from 2 through 4 was moving out. That's the notice I was going to get.
So if you never heard about this from your neighbors, you would never know?
I would have never known anything.
Were you offered any type of compensation for living in a construction zone or?
I voiced my concern and I was only offered $100, which was kind of a slap in the face.
The notice gives them 3 options. They can permanently transfer to another unit on the property, temporarily transfer to a different unit for 60 days while construction is completed, or terminate their leases and move out by October 31st. Security deposits would be refunded after a home inspection, and moving costs would be paid for with an internal transfer.
But this has been a significant hassle, significant disruption in our household.
Brooks and his family live on the 3rd floor. They're terminating their lease after just 6 months. So moving off of the property, you won't get any of your expenses covered.
Correct.
Do you think that's fair?
I know it's not fair in that we moved here and incurred a $3,000 moving bill that they ought to reimburse me for that. And the one I'm getting ready to pay again for.
Both Brooks and Reggie believe that the property owners and management company had been told about the problems as early as late last year. They want to warn others about what they say are dishonest practices.
I have emails and pictures from another resident here with date stamps that they knew about this approximately in September of 2023. I moved in December.
I felt they should have told us before we moved in that we have this problem here.
Tiffany Salomon.
Oh. Are you getting what's happening to this country? Like, everybody is declining mentally, physically, spiritually, forget it. But morally, vacant, vapid, empty. But if you had a moral core and actually did the work on yourself, you'd still have that. We don't see an awful lot of people. They don't care what they're doing to other people. So can you imagine when things really, really start heating up? 6 human cases of bird flu confirmed in California. And an 84-year-old man gifted tiny home after losing house in Helene flooding. And it is this man, Incredible Tiny Homes, who so far has donated 2 or 3 tiny homes for people in the Western North Carolina or Tennessee. I'm going to say that if any of you have an RV that you are not using, and you're not going to be using, certainly for the winter months, why don't you bring it up to Western North Carolina, Eastern Tennessee, for people who have lost their homes, and allow them to use it so that they have some shelter for the winter?
Man who lost his home from the floods is getting a special gift today. Del Rio, one of East Tennessee's communities hit the hardest after Hurricane Helene. Our Lexi Lepoff is there today, showing us how an act of kindness is helping this man get back on his feet.
An 84-year-old man who has cancer tells me he lost everything in the devastating floods following Hurricane Helene. Now today, a Newport business is stepping up to give him the blessing of a lifetime.
I don't know how to act.
84-year-old James Gregory is at a loss for words.
Ooh, Lord.
He's getting the first look at his brand new home.
There's keys to the house.
Gifted to him completely free by Incredible Tiny Homes in Newport. The mini state-of-the-art house fully equipped with a kitchen, bathroom, and hot water.
I can't believe it. You know, you need to pinch me to see if I'm dreaming.
Flooding wiped out Gregory's home. Now broken apart, sitting in inches of mud, no longer safe to live in.
Lost about everything, looks like, except myself.
Spending weeks living at his daughter's house while wondering what to do next, his family got the call from Incredible Tiny Homes.
Felt great to know that he was going to be in a nice, clean, safe home.
Friends of the family reached out to the company on Gregory's behalf. Owner Randy Jones says he knows what it's like to lose everything.
I thought about this older gentleman being alone, being by himself, and he has no bed, has anything. I got a bed.
What I'm struggling with here, and it's only because I need the details filled in by the individuals who are in this experience than my own head. But he has a daughter. He's been living with his daughter. And there are people with no family and no home, losing everything. So it's a little, I think to myself, you extend this kind of help to people who most need it. And if people are actually living, with their family, Perhaps they could live there, even permanently, you know? Yeah. Do we need to bring back the sense of family that a whole lot of different cultures have, but not here? But the presumptions I'm very aware of. Being alone, being by himself. He's staying with his daughter. So here's another tiny home going off to people who are intense.
Actually, coming out that way.
So I will link below. You can watch it yourself. But yeah, as far as I'm concerned, when people are okay and they're not going to be, thrown into bankruptcy by donating something like this, then do it. The RV that you haven't used in years, but it's still parked on your property, and the likelihood of you using it is probably slim. Go ahead and let other people either donate it or let other people use it. I'm going to play this out. It's 8.5 minutes. This is what people are going through. These are elderly people. Thank God they have a strong family. Yeah, thank God.
We had some rain the day before, a couple of days maybe, and then on that morning, Friday morning, the river, it was starting to get up, but our creek beside our house had filled their tile. So this was about 3:15 in the morning. So we got in our truck and we pulled out into the highway so we could keep a watch on the river. But at that point, the river wasn't rising very fast. It was still down in the very bottom part of our yard. So we sat there for probably 3 hours. And then the creek beside our house started getting up. So my mom lives across the street. So we went over to get her. And she's 92 years old. And as I was trying to get her to the door, my husband looked out and he says, "We can't get out." He said, "My truck won't go through that water." So we went back into the house. And at that point, his truck just washed away. So we went into Mom's back room, which she had lived there 70 years. The water had never gotten up at her house. So my husband says, "I think we'll be okay." So we looked out and her front yard was covered with just waves of water. And then it was circling her house, just circling and circling. So it's like, no, we got to go. We got to go. So we went to the back door. And my husband got a foothold because the water was probably knee deep. And he got a foothold. and he pushed me across the water to where I could get a foothold. And then he got my mom and put her out to where I could get a hold of her hands, and I pulled her to me. So we started at the hill, but at 92, my mom, she couldn't walk it. So we had a little goat fence there, and she crawled under it. And so she crawled up the hill to our neighbor's house. So we got up there and they put us in dry clothes, and we hadn't been there very long. And then I saw my house. It was just like it picked up. The water was over the top. You could just see the eave. Just like it floated away. And as it went across, I think the tip end of my house hit my mom's house. And hers just uprooted and it floated away. So we just lost both of them at that time. And then my sister lives above us, and she, the water was up to her rafters, so hers is a total loss because it pulled it off the foundation. So it's very devastating. We got out with our lives, so we are alive, which I'm so blessed and so grateful. But we've lived here 50 years, and my mom had lived there 70 years, and we've just never seen anything like this.
So what do you feel like? What are your next steps from here?
I don't know. I don't know. I guess we're waiting on insurance and maybe FEMA's help, but I don't know what our next steps are.
And did you have flood insurance?
No, we did not.
So how can people best help you at this point in time if you know of anything?
Prayers. Just prayers, and hopefully the insurance can help us in some way so that we can rebuild or relocate, whatever, just to get us back on our feet.
Well, we have never seen a storm like this, and we've lived with that river since 1954, and I enjoyed living by the river. But anyway, this flood was different. I never dreamed of losing my house. It was a very well-built house, and we just thought, well, that would handle my family if we got a big flood, but it didn't handle the family. So it's very overwhelming. It still seems like a dream, but I'm so thankful that we got out alive and that all my family is safe. We are a very close family, and seem like we're not really grieving like most people would, because 3 of us barely escaped through the back door. And then we had to crawl and lead each other up a pasture to my neighbor's house, which was very exhausting for all of us. But we got a lot to be thankful for, and I'm going to miss it. But we're so thankful to have our family, and people have responded so great to all of us that everything is just like a miracle for us. So we saw the 77 flood, but it was nothing compared to this. And the water got up so fast that my daughter and her husband, they came over, and by the time we looked back out, like minutes later, they couldn't get back to their truck. It was so deep. Well, we looked out my back door, and the water, instead of running, it was swirling. And Ricky held the door facing. We held hands and fairly pushed ourselves through knee-deep Russian water. And we're thankful to be alive. And we've got a wonderful family. We've had wonderful friends and family and neighbors and responding and giving us everything that we need up to now.
Wow.
We're so
Wow. Okay. Hurricanes are wind events, not water, not water, not water. So 70 years she lived in that house, 50 years for her daughter, then a sister, all of their homes gone, everything destroyed. The flood, the fierceness of the water, that needs to be questioned. Right? Right. Absolutely. Weather terrorists, they don't care. 92 years old. The daughter, probably in her 70s, I don't know. This is what people go through. What are they going to, you know what the insurance company is going to say, right? Sorry. FEMA, not going to help them. All of their homes, 3 in that family, 3 homes gone. Okay. I listened to this, and I'm not entirely sure if somebody sent it to me or if I just came across it. What I think today I came across it. Okay, what's really happening in North Carolina? You've got to listen to this. Bear Independent. Somebody did recommend this video. Sorry, I can't really remember. I think somebody dropped the link underneath my live. Thank you. Thank you so much, because I listened to the full hour and 2 minutes of this man talking about, he lives in Oklahoma, but he went out to Eastern Tennessee, West North Carolina, and he's got a lot of information, and he's very articulate. So I do hope that you circulate this, because it's an awful lot of information that we all need to know. And yeah, but at 15 minutes and 24 seconds, he begins to talk about the weirdness that he observed himself. But I do highly recommend that you start from the beginning, because he talks about everything, the operations that he was doing to rescue and to help people in those suffering the weather modification. And he's not someone who doesn't know about weather modification. So.
Okay. Now, let's switch gears to oddities. Mark time, 15:24. Please share this show. with somebody you love. If you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing. This is the part that's the scope is very large, 5 states, but the impact, and again, taking nothing away from the people who lost everything, it is not chaos actual. It is.
And I'm very glad that he has said this, because I said the same thing. You know, we're looking at what is happening to people all over the country, unfortunately, at an increasing rate throughout the years. It's the scale of damage, and a hurricane in Western North Carolina, which is rather strange. Okay, so, but he's the first person that has said that. So, yeah.
Not the end of the world as we know it. It's a 1.5 out of 10 when it comes to a damage assessment. Okay. Now, let's switch gears to oddities. Mark time, 15:24.
And I also want to say, when anybody says it's not the end of the world, it is the end of the world. It is the end of the world to an awful lot of people who have lost loved ones. But he's coming from having done this kind of work for many, many years, and going into these disasters with tornadoes and hurricanes and everything. So, but yeah, it's very much the end of the world. And whether it's one person or an awful lot of people who are suffering the consequences, for that one person, it's big.
Please share this show with somebody you love. If you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing. This is the part that's super important that needs to get out, but I had to lay that baseline first. By the way, to all my brothers and sisters in the preparedness space that are producing content around lessons learned from Hurricane Helene, I will have that content coming as well, from a boots on the ground standpoint with my observations. And I say this in love. I know some of y'all were out there helping people, but most of y'all weren't. The reporting that's coming out, including the social media reporting, most of it's wrong. Most of it's wrong. And so I would be very careful to draw any lessons learned from Hurricane Helene unless you've been there yourself. Okay. Now, oddities. I got a whole whiteboard of them. In fact, go ahead and take a screenshot, and I'll just go ahead and say right now, I'm not suicidal and I didn't kill myself. Here, microphone's in the way. Screenshot that. Okay. Where shall we begin? There's a town, or more like a village, in Little Germany, outside of Jonesboro, Tennessee. It had 70 homes. It's now down to 40 individuals. It was 42, but this village was cut off and isolated by the storm. Flooding wiped the road out. It was 42 and now it's 40 because very interesting study, detached study in the psychology of SHTF. 2 people committed suicide. One was definitely a suicide. The other one's questionable because they didn't want to play anymore. They lost the will to live. This community was isolated from everything, and their only line to the outside world for the first, I believe it was 7 days, was a 5-watt Baofeng radio. That's it. So if you don't know Camo, you better learn Camo. We began running supplies overland, packing them in. There's footage of this on my channel. Tennessee Department of Transportation was not going to rebuild their road. They were just going to leave them isolated, cut off. We filmed content, and then a local showed up with a track hoe and started rebuilding the road. So we started running loads and dump trucks of rock and dirt to them, at which point TDOT decided, no, we'll rebuild the 400 meters of road. We will issue a contract to Summers Contracting for $2 million to build 400 meters of road. Okay, whatever. And they'll have the road up in 4 days so that people can get in and out of Little Germany. Okay, deal. You guys handle it. Yeah, that number is now 3 to 4 weeks to get the road back up. Little Germany is cut off. Politicians, air missions over Little Germany. We were flying air missions into Little Germany with our helicopter. What's up, Dusty and Kyle? You guys are amazing. But then all of a sudden, the airspace over Little Germany was changed to military airspace only, military aircraft only. And they put 60s on it to service Little Germany. Except instead of stopping, landing, offloading supplies, they were just doing flyovers. When they did land, they flew local, state, and federal politicians into Little Germany to promise everything to their face. Oh, we're going to take care of you, whatever we can do. But listen, we're out of funding. We'll find the funding, but we're going to take care of you. But then they didn't. They didn't drop supplies. They didn't drop med. They didn't drop commo. These people were completely cut off. And then, oh, by the way, these same politicians are hosting what they literally call secret meetings every Thursday. Where in said secret meeting, where I was invited to one, big mistake, they're sitting there talking about Little Germany, bad-mouthing it to each other. What are we going to do about Little Germany? Yeah, whatever, who cares? Two-faced politicians. And I don't have a dog in this fight. I'm here to help people and love people, and I answer to nobody but the creator of the universe. And we're here for the preservation of life. And I don't care about small-town politics. I don't care whatever backstory was predating Little Germany. These people were fearfully and wonderfully created in the image of their creator. And it's a shame that I got to drive 801 miles to love my neighbor as myself when you live there and you're pandering for political reasons. Little Germany, I think, has been isolated because underneath Little Germany and the surrounding areas are seams of lithium. Now, adjacent to Little Germany is an area called Bumpus Cove. Bumpus Cove, by the way, anybody within the sound of my voice in the area needs to be taking water samples and soil samples and sending them to independent labs, not the state labs. Although I would recommend you take 3 or 4 samples, send one to the state lab, and then send the remainder to independent labs so you can compare what the state lab is saying, or have they been bought off, against what the independent labs are saying. They're already testing wells in Bumpus Cove because TDEC, Tennessee Department of Environmental Quality, learned about a decade ago that the water in Bumpus Cove was trash because people were getting sick, really sick, strange cancers, goiters, boils, weird looking deer running through the area, massive amounts of heavy metal in the soil of Bumpus Cove already. Now, the river that washed past Little Germany and into Bumpus Cove and continued on down from there has chemical plants washed into it, all kinds of cadavers, all kinds of dead animals, PVC manufacturing plant, nuclear fuels. Repeat, nuclear fuels. Rumant, at least one person who was working in that area was admitted to the hospital for radiation sickness. Rumant, unconfirmed, working on confirming it. Underneath that, and the land actual in that area, Little Germany, Bumpus Cove, is owned by a mining company. Now, North Carolina, and to a lesser extent Tennessee, Eastern Tennessee, are very much so involved in the Green New Deal, green energy. They want lithium to make batteries for cars. I'm not looking at super chats right now. I'm not looking at comments right now. Do not send anything else to 104 Cherry Grove, please. Do not send anything else to 104 Cherry Grove. Coordinate everything through grindstoneministries.com. And I'm not going to be distracted by the chat right now. I cannot. All super chats, all comments, hold them till the end. A mining company owns that whole area, Little Germany, Bumpus Cove. And the lithium underneath the soil seems to be the predicate for what appears to be a federally enforced land grab. I think, do not know, because this is way bigger than me. Now, speaking of federally enforced land grab, confirmed by our people on the ground, I have pics. Border Patrol, SRT, is doing security for FEMA. Not everywhere. Here's a pic. Okay. You can screenshot that too if you want to. If it'll focus. It's trying to. Not everywhere for FEMA, just in areas of Western North Carolina where FEMA is running up to 30 minivans filled with FEMA agents who deny to be FEMA, even though they have FEMA windbreakers. So are they actually FEMA who's denying to be FEMA? Or are they not FEMA, but they have FEMA windbreakers as cover for action, going into areas where entire towns were wiped off the map with cadaver dogs? Rumant, the cadaver dogs are hitting on entire valleys, not just one area, because entire towns were wiped off the map. I talked to one woman who was the only survivor of the 60 plus homes that were in her holler that were wiped away by a 30-foot wall of mud that slid down the mountain. There are 12 people in her home. She's the only one that survived, and she's the only survivor of that entire holler. And the whole place just looks like a pile of mud. The official death count is 213 bodies. I spoke to one coroner in one county that had 1,200 bodies stacked in reefer trailers. Spoke to local emergency management that said they were stacking ambulances with body bags like cordwood in the back of them. One location in Swannanoa, North Carolina, went through 10 to 12,000 body bags. And Rumant, National Guard bulldozers are what's pushing those areas flat. There are thousands of bodies in the river and underneath the mud.
When he says rumant, it means rumor intel. In other words, the rumor has to be checked out and verified.
This is all what has come across our intel desk at our talk, at our fob, not what the internet has said. So not only has Border Patrol SRT been observed in the area, lots of other rando, very interesting security agencies are in the area. Now, that being said, this area houses the nuclear fuels for our nuclear arsenal. Shh, don't tell anyone. As well as manufactures all the RDX for our artillery shells. Shh, don't tell anyone. As well as is incredibly rich in lithium and gypsum and silica, which is required for the Green New Deal, as well as the AI revolution. Again, The river is dangerous. We have been telling our people, our volunteers with Grindstone Ministries, don't get in the river. Do not pull water from the river for any application, and stay out of the silt, stay out of the mud, because the ground was contaminated before we got there. It's definitely contaminated now. Repeat, you have to, if you are in the area, you have to be taking soil samples, document when they were taken, where they were taken, and take soil samples 6 inches below the surface and 24 inches below the surface, and take multiple samples from the same location and send 1 to the state for testing and 2 or 3 to other independent labs so you can compare, contrast the results, soil and water. There are already myriad monitoring wells in the area because the area was already polluted. People are already getting sick there. And so these particular areas, Little Germany, Bumpus Cove, and others, I believe, are simply being abandoned. There's already reports they're being abandoned because they want what's underneath the ground. And there are already reports from my guys in the field that people are driving around trying to buy up the land, and in some cases are buying up the land pennies on the dollar because it's been destroyed.
And Governor Cooper of North Carolina gave an interview, and in that interview, he said, it's better not to build back. It's better to just have the buyout, the FEMA buyout. That's the best that people can do. Have FEMA buy your land out. That's what Cooper said. Governor Cooper. Wow, really? Okay. I was very, very impressed. I subscribed. I'm going to put the link in again, and I better remember to put the link in once this posts. Tremendous amount of very valuable information that he imparts to all of us about what is going on. As well, this man, who apparently worked with Bear Independent, but also knows a lot about what's going on the ground. And I will, this is Perma Pastures Farm inside Hurricane Helene. Whistleblower exposes what's really happening on the ground. And here you go. But I'm not going to be ending right at 7:30 because it's all tied in together, right? It's all tied in together. Everything is connected. There's nothing being done in isolation. That much you can absolutely guarantee. But, and I will post the link to this DOD directive, which essentially says we give authorization to the U.S. military to kill Americans. Yes. Now, what I don't understand is an awful lot of people who are talking about this. How is it that they think that our military hasn't been assisting law enforcement, local and state law enforcement, federal? How is it that people think that, oh my God, this is in violation of posse comitatus? Posse comitatus, Obama got rid of that. Military. There is supposed to be a very sharp separation between military in the United States. No, we don't have military assisting with law enforcement in the United States. We're not supposed to. We're not supposed to have military helping to implement policy, domestic policy. Posse comitatus, if you don't know what it is, look into it. they've been in violation of posse comitatus. Remember the years of people posting on all of the military exercises in cities like Los Angeles and other cities all over, and in North Carolina as well, in suburban areas. Okay, our U.S. military has plenty of room to do all of their exercises, military exercises. They even build mock towns, mock urban sites to do their exercises. So why were they coming into cities? And people, were very alarmed with what the hell? Why do we have so many Black Hawk helicopters flying right by my terrace? That was to get Americans used to seeing military all around them. Now, assistance to law enforcement agencies and other civil authorities. But here in this document, they give themselves permission to use force, even if it's fatal, against Americans. Could our Department of Defense be thinking of something coming up? We only have just a little over 2 weeks before the election. We've got an awful lot of very violent illegal migrants in our country, violent gangs, MS-13, we've got the Trende, Aragua, and other gangs positioned in cities all over our country, but not just cities. We've been talking for years about the cells, all of these military-aged men coming across the border. They're not vetted. Millions and millions and millions get in here fast. Cells all over the country. All over the country. Washington to Maine, Florida, on out to California, and inside. We're seeing an awful lot of crime already due to our open border. And people are, angry. So whether it's the red team or blue team, it doesn't matter. We are looking at real chaos coming up. So this is the Department of Defense using force, even lethal force, against Americans. And do you remember this, which I have included in videos quite often? And this was probably longer than 7 years ago, but it was posted on this site, on this channel 7 years ago. Megacities, urban future, the emerging complexity. The Pentagon. This is a training video out of the Department of Defense.
The future is urban. By 2030, urban areas are expected to grow by 1.4 billion, with that growth occurring almost entirely in the developing world. Cities will account for 60% of the world's population and 70% of the world's GDP. The urban environment will be the locus where drivers of instability will converge. It is the domain that by the year 2030, 60% of urban dwellers will be under the age of 18. The cities that grow the fastest will be the most challenged as resources become constrained and illicit networks fill the gap left by overextended and undercapitalized governments. The risk of natural disasters compounded by geography, climate changes, unregulated growth, and substandard infrastructure intersect to frustrate humanitarian relief. Growth will magnify the increasing separation between rich and poor, religious and ethnic tensions will be a defining element in the social landscape. Stagnation will coexist with unprecedented development as impoverishment, slums, and shantytowns rapidly expand alongside modern high-rises, technological advances, and ever-increasing levels of prosperity. This is the world of our future. It is one we are not prepared to effectively operate within, and it is unavoidable. Megacities are complex systems where people and structures are compressed together in ways that defy both our understanding of city planning and military doctrine. It is an ecosystem that demands a highly agile and adaptive force to successfully operate within. Infrastructures will vary radically, with concentrations of high-tech transportation, globally connected air and seaports, contemporary water, utilities, and waste disposal intermixed with open landfills, overburdened sewers, polluted water, and makeshift power grids. Living habitats will extend from the high-rise to the ground-level cottage to subterranean labyrinths, each defined by its own social code and rule of law. Social structures will be equally challenged, if not dysfunctional, as historic ways of life clash with modern living, ethnic and racial differences are forced to live together, and criminal networks offer opportunity for the growing mass of unemployed. This becomes the nervous system of non-nation-state, unaligned individuals and organizations that live and work in the shadows of national rule. Where physical domains can be seen, digital domains will have limitless potential to breed and expand without limit. Digital security and trade will be increasingly threatened by sophisticated illicit economies and decentralized syndicates of crime to give adversaries global reach at an unprecedented level. This will add to the complexities of human targeting, as a proportionally smaller number of adversaries intermingle with a larger and increasing number of citizens. The scale and density of these domains is daunting. In a city of 10 million, where you hold the support of 99% of the population, the remaining 1% represents a threat of 100,000. It is an environment of convergence, hidden amongst the enormous scale and complexity of the megacity. These are the future breeding grounds, incubators, and launching pads for adversaries and hybrid threats. Linked globally, these are man-made labyrinths that provide refuge and movement across the vast sections of these cities where alternate forms of governance have taken control. The advice of doctrine, from Sun Tzu to current field manuals, has provided two fundamental options. Avoid the cities, or establish a cordon to either wait out the adversary or drain the swamp of non-combatants and engage the remaining adversaries in high-intensity conflict within. Even our counterinsurgency doctrine, honed in the cities of Iraq and the mountains of Afghanistan, is inadequate to address the sheer scale of population in the future urban reality. From the streets of Aachen to the Citadel and Way, we have defeated adversaries who attempted to use urban terrain to their advantage. Urban conflict is written deep into the Army's histories. But in tomorrow's conflict, these megacities are orders of magnitude greater in complexity, and our current options do not meet strategic ends. Our future operations must allow us to rapidly return the city to the people. They will be too large and complex to isolate or cordon in their entirety. Yet our soldiers will have to operate within these ecosystems with minimal disruption and flow. Our current and past strategies can no longer hold. We are facing environments that the masters of war never foresaw. We are facing a threat that requires us to redefine doctrine and the force in radically new and different ways. The future Army will confront a highly sophisticated urban-centric threat that will require that urban operations become the core requirement for the future land force. The threat is clear. Our direction remains to be defined. The future is urban.
So, all over the world, not just in the United States, look at the UK, look at what's happening with all of the Muslims in the UK, religious tensions, social tensions. Yeah. This is what the Pentagon has actually been implementing. This is why we have an open border. And this is why the social engineers have worked hard to keep us at one another's throats. And they know that it doesn't matter who wins or who's selected. Doesn't matter. Because the chaos, it's a win-win for them, but it's a lose-lose for us. So, I sure do hope that you're all prepared and that you do have something to protect yourself and your family. Those who are alone, I'm so sorry. Do not think, though, that you guys out in rural America will be able to escape this. In some ways, your position actually makes you more vulnerable. You don't have, the throngs of people as cities do, but you could be miles away from your neighbor or quite a ways away from your neighbor. You may not know your neighbor. And unfortunately, in rural areas, easy pickings. You come out the door, you might be armed, might be ready, but they could be behind a tree and boom. We're talking the official declaration of shit hits the fan, where people need food. This is not going to be pretty at all. Not at all. And, oh God, we are already seeing a lot of these criminal gangs who have come across the border, setting up in cities, taking over apartment complexes. We've got the little itty bitty Tren de Aragua, the very young, 11 years old, 12 years old, and they're 42nd Street. They're holding up people with guns, with knives. The teenagers. That's the adult Tren de Aragua recruiting all of the kids. But what's also happening here? New York City migrant moms are fed up with gang violence at notorious Midtown Hotel as they worry about impact on their kids. So the infamous this is a different hotel. Manhattan Hotel. The converted Midtown Manhattan Hotel. Yes, I'm sorry. Roosevelt Hotel. Okay. That is all migrants. No, not every migrant is a criminal. Okay. Should we have open borders for some and not for others? No, we shouldn't have open borders at all, but we do. And we have an awful lot who have been encouraged in their countries to come across the border for a better life. Okay. So keep that in mind when you're leaving comments or making comments about, just everybody being a criminal. They've been told, they've been encouraged. Okay. So you have a lot of, here in this article, they're talking about Ecuadorian mothers who are very upset about what's happening in the hotel. Another, one person said she's warned her daughter she doesn't want them to get involved. Some are very strict with their kids, and they need to be. But apparently there's a lot of TikTok videos that are being posted of Tren de Aragua at the hotel. At the hotel. Why aren't we deporting them? Because the stage is set for the chaos that will ensue or get even worse and worse and worse. Because we have chaos already. Another mom who asked not to be identified said her daughter clued her in on the hotel's tainted reputation on social media, TikTok. She showed me videos on TikTok, the one where they say New York is protecting criminal migrants. Well, it is. And we know that. TikTok is full of stories about some of the kids in this hotel. Why can't they be arrested or sent back? This is only going to get worse. So no, this isn't going to play. It's a capture. It's so TikTok. All right. More. And it's chaos without structure. They steal and fight, have no one telling them when to come home. They're out all night. It's madness. So, and I will post the link to this video. Who's also talking about what is in our very near future. And I'll play just a few minutes. This is End Times Productions.
You're here because you know something. What you know you can't explain, but you feel it. You felt it your entire life. That there's something wrong with the world. You don't know what it is, but it's there, like a splinter in your mind, driving you mad. It is this feeling that has brought you to me. Do you know what I'm talking about? Matrix. Do you want to know what it is? The Matrix is everywhere. It is all around us. Even now, in this very room, you can see it when you look out your window or when you turn on your television. You can feel it when you go to work, when you go to church, when you pay your taxes. It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth. What truth? That you are a slave, Neo. Like everyone else, you were born into bondage, born into a prison that you cannot smell or taste or touch. A prison for your mind.
The darkness is spreading. The whispers of impending chaos grow louder with each passing day. I found an article entitled, "The Stage is Being Set for the Greatest Period of Chaos in U.S. History," and it unveils a strange tapestry of unsettling events converging upon our reality as the boundaries between order and disorder blur. Prepare yourself to confront the unsettling truths that lie just beneath the surface of our everyday lives. Quote, "If chaos is what they intended, everything is coming together beautifully. Major wars threaten to throw the entire planet into a state of turmoil. Criminals are running wild in our streets, and in a little over a month, the outcome of the presidential election is likely to cause an unprecedented explosion of anger. If all of this wasn't bad enough, our politicians have been allowing millions of desperate people to come pouring over our wide open borders. Some of these new arrivals belong to international criminal gangs, and members of these gangs are being arrested for violent acts, theft, drug dealing, and trafficking all over America. Other new arrivals belong to terror groups in the Middle East, and you would think that this would be a major national security concern. Have also been crossing the border illegally, as have very large numbers of military-aged Chinese men. The stage is being set for the greatest period of chaos in U.S. history, and this should deeply alarm all of us. Since
it really should, everyone.
Joe Biden has been in the White House, we have witnessed a spike in migration that is absolutely unprecedented in our history. Millions of people have been allowed in, and once they get into this country, they can go wherever they want. Most of them have come in through the southern border. But what most people don't realize is that migration over the northern border is also wildly out of control. There has been growing attention from northern state lawmakers in recent years over increased attempted illegal border crossings as migration from Latin America grows due to economic and political conditions. In 2023, U.S. Customs and Border Protection encountered almost 190,000 individuals attempting to cross from Canada to the United States. That's almost 7 times more than in 2021. Unfortunately, the number of people coming in through the northern border has just continued to rise in 2024. This year.
Okay, I'm going to post the link again. If you haven't begun, you might want to start trying everything that you can to get some kind of community together. They've been working on this for a very, very, very long time. Very long time. And unfortunately, evil people can also be brilliant. And they know how to get the job done. They don't stop. They just keep getting that job done. You have an awful lot of Americans who are not well physically. You have all of these military-aged men, millions, who have come through the border. Where are they? The northern and southern, but mostly southern. They've been flying them in, okay? They're flying them in. Paid for by the U.S. taxpayer. We didn't do anything. We know it's too late. So be very careful. Try to find out, information about your own community. Who's there? Now, there's been a lot of mainstream media reporting on, the Haitians and in Alabama, in Pennsylvania, and is it Ohio? I can't even remember. They're all over. Find out who's in your community. Find out where they are. The work that has been done by an awful lot of people going around the hotels and finding out which hotels are the migrant hotels. You can do that too, and keep an eye on your community. Help those in need. Live honestly, speak honestly, develop yourself as a trustworthy human being. You give your word, you keep it. Your word is you. If you keep it, you're known as a man or woman of moral character, trustworthy. If you don't keep it, it also tells a whole lot about who you are. You're not trustworthy, and you're not of moral character. So, yeah, we've got a lot of problems. We have a lot of problems, and I'm worried, not for myself, but for a whole lot of people, considering their circumstances that I know, and they're alone. So, pay attention, be aware of your surroundings, be aware of the people in those surroundings. Hope you did a little bit of study on, learning body language, facial expressions. picking up whether or not somebody's angry, maybe picking up, is someone going to blow, that you just want to stay away from. But again, there is so much crime going on now. Home invasions seem to be up there, increasing. So do what you can if you have the resources. I would secure your doors with locks. You can find it on YouTube. These special metal locks. This is not about paranoia. This is about the reality that we're living. And you need to prepare for it. And if you're going, you're living in a city and, you can double up with somebody to go shopping, do that. Okay. I'm going to let you go. Let you go. As if I'm strapping you to your seats. You can't leave until I'm done. No. There's never been a better time to be focused on what is right in front of you. Dealing with the reality that we have. So live honestly and speak honestly. Thank you for showing up. Hope to see you tomorrow night. Stay safe. Did you think that you would be living this? I didn't. I knew it was going to get bad, but I didn't quite know what that meant. So now what we're living, which is unimaginable, it would have been, it was for me years and years and years ago. What's coming? That's still unimaginable. Yeah. Think about that and think about all of the different scenarios that can come about. Martial law is at the end of all of the chaos. Yeah. USA, USA, USA. Ciao, guys.